So we're here, the final broadcast from the amazing conference that's been taking place here in Colombia, in Santa Marta. And the conference where nations have come together to kickstart the process of exiting fossil fuels. We're very delighted to have with us the Minister of Tuvalu, the Minister for Home Affairs, for Climate Change and the Environment. That's quite a portfolio. And it's Minister Maina, Talia, and we're very nice to have you here. What have you made of this conference? Have you felt that it's something that's delivered or starting to deliver something close to your heart?
Thank you for the opportunity. I have been to many COP meetings in the past many years, and I never felt like this. More relaxed, ready to go back home.
Yeah.
No long hours. So I felt that what has been discussed over the past 2 days, it makes a lot of sense. It really connects people to people. We are not negotiating. We're not here to negotiate. We're not here to find positions or demonstrate what's right, what is wrong. We are here to find solutions. So we have created a platform that is fair and equitable for all civil societies, NGOs, indigenous peoples, governments, companies, and so forth. A coalition of the doers, a coalition of the willing, those who are willing to collaborate to ensure that we go back home with solutions.
I think the other thing that strikes one about this this conference is, I was hearing a little bit from the British climate envoy here, Rachel Kite, and one asked the question, what will you do? And she elaborated in saying that probably there are more countries out there that have had some form of a draft exit strategy in their back pockets for quite a few years, but they've never brought them out before because there was no moment, in a sense, to do it. And this beginning here in Colombia is now giving space to countries to say, maybe we go and look at our drafts that we've got tucked away in a bottom drawer that we never brought out before and see if we can join this kind of initiative. Yeah? It's a new dawn, potentially.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Definitely, yes. I mean, the space that have created for the past 2 days at the conference here in Santa Marta has really give people the assurance that we can do it. We can do it. We just need a platform that really provide the freedom to people to elaborate, to share their minds, their hearts, to share their stories, their challenges, their experiences, and define what does it mean for all of us to transition away from fossil fuel in a manageable way.
Yeah.
So I see the facial impression by people. I are able to engage with countries in a very informal manner. Not like what we do at COP meetings. We stress ourselves out, we stay the whole night, we negotiate, we try to find positions, we compromise. But the past 2 days, people were able to speak their minds, speak from the heart. Because at the bottom line, this is about the very survival of the planet and the survival of human beings.
And what do we say about the fossil fuel treaty initiative? It's played an absolutely critical role in bringing us to this point, yeah?
Tuvalu was amongst the very first countries to be part of the treaty. And this was something that Tuvalu and the treaty members have been advocating for, talk about it for the past few years. So the role of the treaty in stirring up things, the role of the treaty is in ensuring that information are well provided, briefings are well provided, in order for countries to make fair decisions. I think the role of the treaty should be acknowledged. Again, what I have just explained in the plenary and of course with the immediate discussion that we had is that we don't want the treaty to shape the whole discussion in Tuvalu. We want to continue discussing the treaty, but we don't want to narrow down the whole discussion. As just like what I said, a platform for people to feel free to discuss, to explain their aspirations, to explain their frustrations. So the treaty, on the one hand, will provide guidance, will continue to play that role of escalating or elevating the moral grounds and keeping people accountable, keeping companies accountable. But at the same time, we don't want to stick to one option. Treaty is an initiative. So we want to take into account all other initiatives to ensure that we have a fair, balanced outcome from here, from Santa Marta to Tuvalu, to the Pacific.
Do we feel collectively that this sometimes the world turns a little bit and things start coming together in ways we hadn't really thought about before? I mean, this terrible war in the Middle East, most countries, instead of saying, oh, we must go and dig for more oil, many countries are saying, no, that just shows we have to get off it. That's one thing. The other thing is the numbers now coming out about the penetration of renewable energy worldwide are truly astonishing, and backed by now storage of electricity that's coming much more into people's economies. It seems that the shift is now happening both politically, geopolitically, where it's no longer just about climate change, it's about energy security, it's about stabilities of economies. It's starting to play into the portfolio of the finance ministers harder. It's an interesting moment for all this happening with this phase out of fossil fuels.
Well, we cannot rule out the geopolitical tensions happening at the moment because whatever we want to call it, either with energy demand, energy supply, whatever, it's all about power. What we have witnessed in the war in the Middle East, it's about power. But I'm glad that people are start talking about solutions. People are start shifting the paradigm. So in that way, we are literally coming to our senses as human beings of how we can resolve this as people who are dealing with their very survival. So responding to the crisis with solutions, I think, is what Santa Marta is all about.
Tzeporah?
Thank you. And Minister Maina, it's an honor to be here with you on this historic evening when you've just announced the second international conference on the transition from fossil fuels will be held in Tuvalu. And it's great to join. We don't have time again here. I think the points you're making, Nick, are really important because this war turned this meeting into an emergency meeting. Of course, it was already because of the fires and floods and lethal heat that is sweeping our planet. But I think a lot of countries here felt a sense of urgency to start working on how to ensure the fossil fuel phase out, given the price scarcity, given the chokehold in the Strait of Hormuz. The war has really shown people how fragile the fossil fuel system is and how it makes it vulnerable. But different from other wars that we have seen that were oil wars, today this war happened in a moment when renewable energy is cheaper than fossil fuels. When we have technology that we didn't used to have. And we have this incredible uptake in electric vehicles around the world. So phasing out fossil fuels is possible, but we don't just need to build the clean stuff. We also need to, as we heard in this conference, constrain the production of fossil fuels. We need to stop expanding oil, gas, and coal and manage a wind down. And what we're working on at the fossil fuel treaty table under the leadership of Tuvalu and the other 18 countries who are sitting at the table and another 10 countries who have been sitting as observers is what are the mechanisms that can be used for countries to cooperate on some of the critical issues that were discussed here in Santa Marta, on debt, on tax, on trade. And what can those mechanisms look like under a legally binding agreement? Because, you know, that's the essential difference with what's happening here and the new conferences and diplomatic track is that the Conference of Parties is and the United Nations Framework on Climate Change was very limited from discussing fossil fuel phase out because there were a lot of vested interests that were really holding that conversation back for decades. And what's happening now is this is a coalition of the ambitious countries like Tuvalu and other Pacific countries who started this movement to ensure fossil fuel phase out become a diplomatic priority. And I think it's really important to recognize that leadership. You know, the fossil fuel treaty proposal emerged from the Suva Declaration that Pacific countries put forward in 2016, 2014, and so for a long time we've seen some of the most vulnerable nations on Earth working the hardest to put forward tangible proposals and high ambition on climate change. The International Court of Justice opinion, the 1.5 goal in the Paris agreements. And again, today we're seeing that leadership, and we need to tonight remember that leadership, and we're very lucky to be guided by it over the next year as we move towards the second conference in the Pacific.
And finally, a couple of headline things just worth mentioning here. This initiative about with the central banks is quite interesting because if you simply look at how China became a superpower in green energy, and it seems it started in 2015 with a clear plan from the central bank to make sure the banking system in China pulled behind super cheap green loans and no greenwashing, even firing people that didn't actually follow the rules. So that's quite something. And then this one about the fossil-free regions.
Fossil-free zones. Yeah.
Fossil-free zones, there we go. I think you guys are thinking about something like that in the Pacific.
The fossil-free Pacific.
Yeah.
Your new declaration that's...
That's the Ricky declaration that we crafted in past weeks, where the Pacific Small Island Developing States were able to meet in Vanuatu to ensure that we prep ourselves for the Santa Marta meeting. So we came up with a declaration of ensuring that a free fossil fuel Pacific. So we will continue to highlight some of the most important things in the call. Especially to try to establish an intergovernmental task force for the region in order for us to take actionable initiatives and ways in which we can implement what Santa Marta's outcome will be.
Yeah. And finally, can I just ask about, obviously there's going to be some report to the UN Climate Conference, COP31 in Turkey, jointly with Australia. That seems to be understood that there will be some reporting of the events here.
That's what the co-hosts of this conference, Colombia and the Netherlands, have announced, that they will be reporting.
And do you think that with Australia, I mean, there's close relationships between the Pacific Islands and Australia, that this could be an opportunity to get a few more countries behind this initiative of the fossil fuel treaty initiative and plans to exit from fossil fuels? There's maybe potentially 85 that were in Berman. Maybe 50 more would be 100. 100's a nice number. It's quite a nice number. 99 is a nice number as well. We didn't want 99 to be upset, but 100 is very rounded, isn't it? Could we all work together to get some diplomacy going on getting a few more on board in Turkey?
Well, that's always been the plan,
right,
to ensure that we talk to countries about the treaty. And that's what I can assure you, that's what we have been doing in the past, to ensure that we bring countries on board and to have to become members of the treaty initiative.
But I think one thing that's really important to remember as we leave Santa Marta is that the ideas that emerged here, the plans that emerged here, will live now in multiple forums. We certainly hope that the central banks and international financial institutions will recognize what's happened here and start to address some of the financial barriers. We believe that a lot of the outcomes here will go back inside the UNFCCC process in order to strengthen countries' own national regulations and commitments under their nationally determined contributions and in the global stocktake. And some of the ideas will live in new legal instruments, like a fossil fuel treaty. And these issues, these different areas are compatible. I think the growing support for the fossil fuel treaty is very exciting. And the fossil fuel treaty will help us meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. What we need to remember is that what has been built through the Paris Agreement is critical architecture for climate ambition. But one tool is not enough in order to ensure the phase out of the most powerful and one of the most profitable industries in the history of the world. We're going to need all the tools in our toolbox.
Exactly. Good. Well then, thank you very much both for being with We Don't Have Time. We've had about 2 million viewers today around the world in about 150 countries. So hopefully your messages have got out to a big audience who are clapping right now and jolly excited about.
I hope they're celebrating.
Happened.
Yeah, and again, I'm very much looking forward to see the upcoming COP, because I'm sure Santa Marta will change the landscape of discussion.
That's a very good point. Very good point, Minister.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And moving on,